What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ink, Drink, Think, episode 12. Now, before we get any further, we'll address the elephant in the room. Due to a terrible clown car incident, Todd and Johnny won't be joining us tonight, but we were quick on our feet and were able to schedule a guest for tonight, who I'm very excited to introduce to you all. By the name of the title of the video, you know that there's not really a topic for tonight. I'm going to be working on some work for Ultramax, which is my graphic novel, and Nate is going to be doing some original artwork himself. But there's not going to be a general theme for tonight other than general hangout and conversation, getting nerdy. As you know, I'm your host, Michael Pickard, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderfully talented co-host and only loyal friend, Johnny and Todd, Nate Wells.
Hey guys, Nate Wells, a real one here. Tonight I'm just sketching for fun. I'm gonna be drawing Leeward from the Scott Snyder and Sean Gordon Murphy book, The Wake, which I really enjoy. She's the main character for like the second half of that book. Didn't really decide what I was gonna draw until like an hour and a half ago, so I'm gonna be touching up the pencils a little bit, but I'm excited to get into this one. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's nice to kind of be free of a theme, just to go. Also, good to have a theme so that I did a lot of sketching prior to the episode of a bunch of different characters. So it's like, oh, I could draw this person. Oh, I could draw this person. And they'll never go anywhere. But tonight I'm drinking it's called a Hoppenheimer from Manhattan Brewing. I believe it's in Dallas, out of my Superman Powerful Pickup Lines pint glass. I'm pretty sure we've gone through all the pickup lines, so I apologize for that, but still my favorite glass.
Well, it works for me. As I said, guys, I'm Michael Pickard, and tonight I'm going to be working on the second issue cover for my graphic novel, Ultramax, which is written by Doug Wood. The story revolves around Travis Holden. He's a low-level criminal and a thug who works for various supervillains in his universe, like a low-level henchman. Due to being in the wrong place at the wrong time, he's convicted of murdering his city's superhero. So for the second issue cover, I'm alluding to some of the elements of that issue. There's a fight scene that takes place between two characters, and graphically speaking, it's not direct events from the story, but it's going to kind of play into the imagery I used in the first issue cover. So as we get into it, you'll see what I'm penciling here, and hopefully by the second part, I'll be inking. But no guarantees. I'm pretty slow. But guys, like I said at the beginning of the episode, and as you can clearly see, we have a guest tonight. It's none other than my friend, the musical talent at the beginning and end of our videos, Danny Walsh from Destroy the Moon. Danny,
Hello,
you have
everyone.
the floor.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, I am Danny Walsh. Like Mike said, I'm from Destroy the Moon, lead singer and lead guitarist in that outfit, and also the lead guitarist in another Philly-based band called Moonroof. And besides all of that, I am a big lover of all things nerdy, music, video games, comics, all that good stuff. I will not be drawing anything, strictly drinking tonight, as I open my second beer. But going to be using the Flyer Stein tonight. So go ahead and do this one.
Represent, my friend.
I've been very excited to come and hang out with you guys tonight. I've been kind of keeping tabs and watching the episodes since you guys started. So I was really psyched when you guys asked me to come on and hang out with you guys, just talk about whatever. So yeah, let's do it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, well, hey, I've got a very important question to ask because you covered it. Both of your bands and your Instagram title have Moon.
Yeah,
as part of the naming. What
Yeah,
is
I noticed that.
What is the infatuation with the moon? Are you guys,
you know what? That
werewolves?
Just kind of so yeah, werewolves. Exactly. No, that just kind of happened. Before I got in these other two bands, my first band was called Modern Minute. So my Instagram handle was Modern Danny for the longest time. And we started Destroy the Moon, and then I ended up joining Moonroof about 2-3 years later, something like that. And I was like, well, I'm in two moon-themed bands. I can't keep like my last band theme name for my Instagram handle or anything like that. So I ended up changing it to Moon. And quite honestly, people love it. So I'm just keeping it around. So
I think it works,
Yeah,
man.
man. Yeah.
It also
Yeah,
makes it
but
easy to know, like, oh, if it's a moon in the title, it's a Danny Walsh band. Like, I can keep that
yes,
in check.
exactly. People are always like, well, is it Walk the Moon or is it, whatever? No. Just the moon is a common theme in my life, so I just kind of went with that.
That's cool,
It's
man.
just there every night. I
It's
get it.
there. I see it every day. It's my biggest fan.
Once a month, it's full. I turn into a wolf man.
Once if I'm lucky, twice a month.
I howl at
go.
it.
There you go.
My neighbors hate me.
My vet bills are off the roof.
Oh God, yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys are working on because I haven't seen anything that you guys have been doing. So
Yeah, I have a blank canvas at the moment. I was saying to Nate before we started recording, I know exactly what I'm drawing, but I don't have a thumbnail available. I got the script for this issue a couple months ago, and I knew exactly what the cover was going to be. So if I break it out, this was the cover for issue 1, and I did this graphic element with this like black kind of half crescent shape that bleeds into this white area, and I want that to be a graphic design element that's continued through all the covers. So I'm gonna do something like that, but because of the character who Travis, our main character, gets in a fight with, his name is Bug Eye. He's a bit like Spider-Man meets Hank Pym, kind of like a super intelligent bug-themed tech-based hero. He has like a fun wasp-esque design. So I'm really intrigued to draw him again. I don't get to draw him too much, or I haven't at this point yet. I have this page. This is the first page he shows up on in the actual graphic novel. Here he is right here. He's got a fun helmet design. I'm hoping that I can show some of the details of it while I'm drawing this cover here, because the way I have it laid out in my head, the figures are going to be pretty small on this frame, but I'm hoping I can show some of that detail because it's a fun costume and I really enjoy drawing it. But
yeah, that looks great.
so Danny, of course, this is the trying times of COVID.
Yes.
And I've seen on your Instagram that your bands are very active right now. What are you guys working on right now? Are you guys doing any albums, music videos? What can we expect from you at the moment?
Yeah, man. So we actually both of the bands are actually right in the middle of recording some new songs. So Destroy the Moon, we actually just finished up preliminary demos for our third album, which will be probably coming out either March or April, something like that. We want to do like an early spring kind of release. That's 15 new songs that we've been working on since the release of our second album, which was back in October of 2018. So big stuff coming there. And then Moonroof, we are currently in the studio. We actually have a new single coming out tomorrow. Well, it's tomorrow for us. The 20th, I believe. Yeah, Friday, the November 20th. So by this time it'll already be out. But we've been in the studio for the past few weeks doing a new EP that we've been writing with our producer, which has been really fun. But other than that, yeah, I mean, we just kept going through the pandemic. We tried to kind of keep ourselves busy with writing, and we did a bunch of live streams for different charities and just to keep people updated with what we were doing. But yeah, we obviously were super cautious, as cautious as we could have been. But yeah, it's been an adjustment, to say the least, to try and keep the bands going during a time where not a lot of people could see each other and we couldn't really practice every week. And it was tough, but yeah, we kind of survived that, which was cool.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry,
I was just gonna say, yeah, I know it's been really tough on musicians, excuse me, generally. because gigging and shows is such a huge part of y'all's lifestyle, income, all of that. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I work from home, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a blessing that way. But I know you guys, it's all about getting out there, and
Yeah.
nobody could have seen this coming, so it's a bummer.
Yeah, and the thing that really sucks was I think it was the day before the official like lockdown was announced the first time around. Um, we actually had like 3 shows that weekend that all got canceled.
Oh no.
Man.
So we had all of that. All of that was gone, and then we were like, well, they're gonna get rescheduled for after everything dies down. Hopefully in like 2 or 3 months, and here we are, almost 9 months later.
Yeah,
Still
that was the
kinda
thing.
waiting on
Everyone
those
was
new
like,
dates.
yeah, it'll be, later this year things will be back to normal. Where I'm at, everyone was super hopeful. They're like, yeah, we'll do this like quarantine shutdown thing for 2-3 weeks and then we'll be good. And I was like, I don't know. I listened to the news and they're not saying 2 or 3 weeks,
Definitely not.
guys.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, nah, it'll be 2 or 3 weeks.
And obviously it was not.
It was not. It was not.
Insert
I've never wanted
SpongeBob
to
title
be,
card. 5 months later.
Yeah, I've never wanted to be wrong so bad in my life, but I was like, guys, I'm not wrong this time.
Yeah. I mean, my birthday is the first week of May. So I was like really hoping that by the time my birthday rolled around, everything would kind of have died down and everything would just kind of be a memory and would be able to go out and do whatever. But I was sadly mistaken, and I don't even think I'm going to be able to do anything for my next birthdays. But we'll see.
Well, I got to tell you, no, I don't want to rub it in your face. My birthday is at the end of February, and I had a bunch of friends come out, and they threw me like a surprise party, and it was really awesome. And we went out to the bars,
with all the people,
and we had a great time. And then like 2 weeks later, everyone was like, "Hey, you can't do anything anymore," and I was like, "Oh, damn, I've been having a really good time."
Yeah.
It's so weird because I feel like I adjusted pretty quickly to not doing anything. I was like, okay, we're not doing anything. Cool. But then I would think about it sometimes. I'm like, 2 weeks ago, I was at my favorite bar here in Waco, and it was the most packed I'd ever seen it, and nobody was worried about anything. That just feels like a completely different world now.
It's a lifetime ago. It's crazy. Just thinking about the town that Mike and I live in. On Fridays and Saturday nights, you would see just people walking around because we obviously live in a college town. That all the students were out and everyone was out going to the bars and all this type of stuff. And now we have one of the main streets closed for outdoor dining because no one can sit inside. So it's just a crazy kind of shift in society and kind of our own reality, which is crazy. But I don't know, man. I feel like we've done more adjusting than trying to get rid of it in the first place. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, I know. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult because Danny, the last time I actually saw you in person was probably summer of 2019 for a mutual friend's graduation party, and we were like, oh yeah, the next time you have something going on, like we should go out and see you guys play. Mm-hmm. And then by the time anything was available, this all happened, so we never got to saw you guys perform.
And the thing was, one of our shows we actually were going to have. Right before everything shut down, it was going to be right in town.
Oh, really?
Right in Westchester. So I was just gonna be like, yo guys, like come out, hang out, it's gonna be really cool. And then that show got canceled. So
jeez.
But yeah, I mean it's been weird. And this is like I don't know. I'm kind of tired of living through like societal, like major societal changes and historical events. I'm kind of tired of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be bored so bad. Um, and I know like a lot of people complain about like the boredom of like people that are like newly working from home or whatever. Uh, and the boredom is, I mean, that's a problem. People's mental health is obviously, kind of being put to the test these days, I think generally, but I think like really if the biggest problem is you're bored at home, that's good. But there's so much anxiety right now just about like going to the grocery store. I'm so tired of that.
Hmm.
Going to the grocery store. I used to go to HEB and I just hated it because like the lines were long. Now I hate it because I'm like, oh, this person's too close to me. Please don't
Yeah.
breathe on me. Put the mask over your fucking nose. Please, please do that.
It
And
w-
yeah, I'm
I
I'm
miss
so tired of that.
I miss when someone would stand too close to you and the only inconvenience was what they were too close. It's not the fact that they could give you a life-threatening disease.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like more uncomfortable than yeah, a life ending.
Yeah.
No, make me uncomfortable all day.
Yeah, at
Don't
this
put
point,
my health at jeopardy. Yeah.
yeah, as long as I know that you don't have it, just stand as close as you want. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just go home and bitch to my friends and family that this weirdo at the store stood too close.
Yeah.
I want to do that. I don't want to go like, hey guys, don't be around me because some weirdo at the store stood too close to me.
Well, Nate, you actually touched upon a really great point that is, I'll call it a benefit for us during all of this time, is that unlike somebody who may not have a hobby, for example, we all have creative endeavors that can occupy our time during all of this. So I know, like, for example, like me, like through this quarantine, like I started working on my first graphic novel. We got successfully crowdfunded. Like a lot of big creative things have happened for me. We started the podcast. I'm producing work every week. I'm producing at an unprecedented speed compared to anything I've ever done in my life,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible. But at the same time, like I always think about like, thank God I have this in my life to occupy myself with. Because if I didn't, I would be at the mercy of, well, what else is on Netflix? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What else haven't I watched?
Yeah.
how many times can you update Instagram in one day?
Oh, dude, that was such a big issue for me at the beginning of this because like I didn't know what to do and I was just kind of like, all right, well, I guess I'll go on social media and kind of scroll around and then I'd catch up to where I was like the day before and then I'd put my phone down for maybe like 10, 15 minutes or so and I'd just open it back up and then I'd catch up and then it was just a vicious cycle where I kind of had to learn to like put my phone down and just kind of back away from it for a little bit.
I'll be honest. I'm
Yeah.
quite addicted to Instagram at the moment. I
Yeah.
check it all the time, and not
Yeah, it's super hard to do. Yeah.
yeah. Not only is it like my communication source for like a lot of my artistic projects. Like I'm talking to my colorist through there. The podcast conversation is mostly held through Instagram. Sharing things back and forth with friends. It's hard not to be glued to that when it's become such a social element in my life. Of course, it's social media, but like when you're working all day by yourself at home with only your collaborators to talk to, for example, like Doug, my writing collaborator on Ultramax, you kind of need that. Like right now, I
Yeah.
need social interaction.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, it kind of becomes like your lifeline. So the fact that you're using it to that kind of degree is more or less, obviously it's helping you, but I mean, it's just crazy to think about the thing that's helping you the most and is keeping you kind of in check with all of your endeavors and keeping you in touch with all your friends is actually just has a little bit of a detrimental feeling to it.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. Like I put it on my Instagram story, and Nate and I were talking about it the other night about
Oh, uh-huh.
yeah, I was working on some lettering, and I was just on Instagram, like flicking through it while like something was loading on my computer, and because of their new setup, I'm so programmed to click in this one spot where you used to be able to see your likes, updates on who followed you, whatever.
Oh, right.
But now that is the shop. And I was saying to Nate how crazy it is that like you were saying, Danny, a second ago, it's this lifeline for me. Like it's my hub, it's my plaza where I go and like I can see what my friends are up to, and I can see what my favorite artists are doing, and I can communicate with you guys or any of my friends or, you know, loved ones, family. And at the same time, like I'm now programmed on this thing to click this one spot and go to a shop. It's a very weird phenomenon. Not even phenomenon. It's just a weird, sketchy thing that's happening in the world.
It's also kind of strange that that's where they decided to put the shop, isn't it? Right where you would click to go and see like your follows and your likes and whoever's commenting on your stuff and that kind of thing. Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah, it's a little bit suspicious that it happened to be that same location.
Yeah. I mean, it's super. I mean, blatantly, they were like, all right, this is the button that people know for this. We're going to put it as far away as we can now and replace it with this thing that we want to promote. And you're like, all right, Instagram, okay. I'm going to keep using your app, but I'll be a little mad about it.
Because what choice do I have? I'm going to bitch about it for about
What choice do I
5
have?
minutes, and then I'm going to just kind of forget about it until I open the app again.
2 minutes later.
Exactly. Yeah. 2 minutes from now, when I'm over it, we're all good.
We're all fine.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, the one thing that I was thankful for quarantine was I was able to catch up on like reading and video games and that kind of stuff, which is something I wasn't able to do initially, but every pile of crap has a silver lining, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what are you enjoying nowadays? Because I know, like us, you have a lot of various interests in comics, movies, film, or I guess movies and film are the same thing. TV.
I have been kind of revisiting a lot of older video games that I had played when I was younger, but kind of had lost as I grew up. But I was able to kind of revisit a lot of those because of one, the Switch. The Nintendo Switch has the original Nintendo and the Super Nintendo kind of throwback systems built into them, so I can go back and I can play all those older games. And also, I fixed my PlayStation 1, so I was able to hook that up and get that working again, so I could play a bunch of older games on the original console, which was really cool. But yeah, like video games have kind of been my thing recently. Comic wise, I really haven't been reading a lot. It just kind of has fallen by the wayside. I hate to say it because it was such a big part of my life for so long, but it's an expensive hobby, man. I have one of the most expensive hobbies there is in music and all that type of stuff, but eventually, man, all of those issues that I want to read, I'm reading 6 or 7 lines at a time, or 6 or 7 storylines at a time, where I'm just like, I'm walking out of the store just having spent like $45 on like 7 or 8 issues, and I'm like, man, it's starting to catch up with me. But that was one of the things that I've kind of said to myself that I was going to get back into. It's always like a tomorrow I'm gonna, starting tomorrow I'm gonna do it, but that's definitely one of those things that I would like to rekindle.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. It is such an expensive hobby nowadays. And like we've talked about it on the show plenty of times about like what the future of this industry is, because I know Nate and I are aspiring to find career success within this medium. But man, it's so expensive. Like if for actually collecting the print versions of these books, it's the same price of entry as digital. Mm-hmm. So like there's no option, there's no cheaper option, And so like I totally relate. Like I'm not reading anything mainstream right now. And so the fact that you have video games to be that narrative / entertainment outlet for you during this
Yeah.
time, as opposed to comics, which should be way more accessible. Like,
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. What games are you playing in
Yeah.
particular?
Oh man, I just went back and played wow, what's it called? Medieval. It was a game that came out for the original PlayStation that got a re-release, a remaster on the PS4 back in October of last year, so about like a year ago now. And I went through and I replayed the remaster, and at the beginning of this quarantine, I went and found my original PlayStation. It was all busted out. The ring inside that spins the disc was gone, so I had to replace a lot of the things in the system itself. But once I got that working again, I actually found my original copy of Medieval. So I went back and I played the original copy with the original graphics and all that type of stuff, and that was a blast from the past because I used to play that when I remember first playing it when I was like 2 or 3 or something like that. So having that memory attached to it was really cool now that I'm sitting here a grown adult stuck inside. But no, I mean some stuff like that. I went back and played through a lot of the Legend of Zelda games. It's my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's my favorite game series of all time. So I went back and I played through.
Yeah, same.
I played through Wind Waker. I played through Ocarina a few times. Majora's Mask. Played through Oracle of Ages on my Game Boy Color, which was great. The remaster of Link's Awakening was a big one for me during the quarantine, and I went back and I did Breath of the Wild again because they just are releasing a new prequel series or prequel title to that one. So wanted to go back and get that fresh in my head before I played the prequel, and then the sequel will come out probably next year, but just wanted to kind of refresh on all those.
Yeah, the Legend of Zelda franchise. I was just thinking about it the other day. It's interesting that, like Mario, for example, has this kind of like nebulous, free flowing timeline. Like, there's no plot to the stories, so you could play any Mario game with no barrier of entry in terms of like, well, I need to catch up on the other 150 Mario titles to know what's happening in this game.
Yeah.
And Zelda's kind of unique in that same regard, where it's like, you don't have to play any Zelda games to pick up the newest one and be able to play it, unless it's like a sequel to a different one. But it's almost like a multiverse for that franchise. Like, they're all in their own timelines to a sort, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when they released Skyward Sword in 2011, I believe, which is the 25th anniversary of that series, they made some sort of timeline for all the games, but it's very shoddy and it's very weird and no one really follows it. So I'm kind of on that same boat with you. It's like, you don't need to have a like a tight understanding of the games that have come before it just to be able to jump in and play, because all of those games are so user friendly, especially a lot of the older ones where admittedly they were a little bit handholdy. But as the series progressed, and especially with the newest one with Breath of the Wild, it was just so like, all right, here you go, you're in the game now. So you don't really have to have any prior knowledge of anything else, which is really great, and I think that's one of the better aspects of the series. It makes it more enjoyable. It makes it less intimidating to start.
I've admittedly never played one. We had Ocarina. We have Ocarina of Time for the N64, which was the station we had, or console, I should say, when we were growing up. But
Oh yeah.
I just never got into it.
Oh dude.
Oh, dude.
I know. I've never been a gamer though. Admittedly, I always respect video games from the standpoint of like, it is a storytelling medium, just like TV or film or whatever. But yeah, it's like the one I never really clicked with completely. Like, I watch a lot of TV, I watch a lot of movies, of course, I read a ton of comics, but
Yeah.
yeah, video games is like the one that I other than Pokemon, which I had a bunch of growing up. Yeah, I just never really clicked with video games, but like totally understand how immersive the worlds can be and
Yeah.
how they tell stories through it. Where it's like even though you have these side quests, there's this big adventure that's happening.
And that's funny that you say that you never really got, you had Ocarina, but you never really got into it, just because that's like Citizen Kane in terms of video games to some people. It's like some
Hmm.
people are like, yeah, that's the greatest game ever created. So the fact that, like, I think that's
Yeah.
the first time I've heard someone be like, yeah, I don't know, it wasn't really my thing. But it's such a cool kind of experience when you're like, oh wow, there are other people out there that are like have other priorities, which is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just noticed these as they were sitting on my desk. I have all of the Zelda kind of amiibos
Oh,
here.
that's
This is
awesome.
Adult
Oh,
Link
nice.
from Ocarina, Young Link from Ocarina, and then I have Wind Waker Link, the cartoon one.
I love me some Toon Link.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it is a
And
great
then
design.
and then this one is probably my favorite one. This was the new design for Link in the Link's Awakening remaster that they did last year.
Yeah.
This
Mm.
is it's so cool. He's like a little Play-Doh dude. It's awesome.
Is Link your go-to for Smash?
Absolutely not. Um,
Oh, not what I was expecting.
no, I no. As much as I used to main Link in Smash, I tried to branch out because I got made fun of for using him too much because he's like the most user friendly one. So I was like, all right, I need to try something else. So
Who is your main right now in Smash? Because that's a video game that I'm a huge fan of.
right. Right now my main is Pac-Man. I've
Oh,
been trying
nice
to
choice.
I've been trying to get better with Pac-Man. It's not going well, but I'm still trying.
Yeah, he
Um,
can be really weird to play. His charge attack. So he was also the last time I was really into playing it. Pac-Man was one of my mains for sure.
mhm.
His charge attack, where he kind of throws out the this.
The balls, yeah, his over B, right?
Yeah, and he can just do and like kind of does a
Hmm.
charge. Oh man, I love using that move.
Yeah, that thing is it's hard to hit well though. That's the only thing. You have to be playing certain characters to be able to have like the right hitbox for that. Because like if you're using I forget who it is. If you're using Mario, I think the hitbox is like too small, but if you're using like Snake, you know how Snake's like super thin compared to most of the characters because they tried to make him more human.
Yeah, he's very normally
His
proportioned.
hitbox Yeah, exactly. His hitbox is so weird. Like moves like that don't work on him. But yeah, Pac-Man's crazy. Like if you're good with him, like you're good. You're good with him. It's kind of scary.
Nate, are you a Smash Brothers fan?
Yeah, I played a lot of Melee back in the
Mhm.
day. That's
Classic.
probably the last one that I really played. Yeah, loved it though.
Hmm.
Yeah, Captain Falcon in that one was one of my go-tos.
Yeah,
Same.
Loved Captain Falcon.
yeah. Captain Fat. He's actually held up throughout all of the entries. He kind of has his own move set. That kind of puts him apart from everyone else, which is cool. Um, but yeah, he's held up across like all titles. He's like consistently fun to play with.
He's a weird one though because out of all of the original playable characters from the N64 version, he's the one
Hmm.
that doesn't really have his. I mean, he has F-Zero. It's a franchise, but it's not one that people know about. You know?
Yeah, which is a shame, man, because F-Zero is so awesome.
Oh, really? I've never played any of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a racing game, but it's so fun. Like the environments and the characters, like even with like it was purely you never had like a campaign to it. Like you never like controlled Captain Falcon, but like you got kind of attached to all the characters that were in the game itself because you had like your favorites and you had like all the people that your friends used and so that game was so fun and it was just so well made that like it's a shame that they really haven't done anything with the franchise since like God, I want to say like 95 I think was the last F-Zero title.
95? That's crazy.
I'm gonna fact check myself real quick.
This is the first time we've been able to really fact check on the show. Somebody's not using their phone to record themselves.
Yeah, normally we just say whatever and hope for the best.
And that's, whatever sticks.
Yeah. Just if you have anything inflammatory to say, just go for it. We'll correct it in the comments if someone calls us out.
Exactly. See, it was the last one anyone cared about was F-Zero X, which was 98. So not 95, 98. F-Zero X, I believe, came out on the N64. But yeah, that was the last one anyone really cared about.
That's still a crazy long time ago.
Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. It's, what, 22 years ago now? That they've just kind of let this title just float all the way to, like, the bottom of everyone's list.
But yet, Captain Falcon is an icon. Like, everybody who from our generation knows who he is. Like, he played Smash Bros. Captain Falcon, Falcon Punch,
The Falcon Punch, yeah. I mean, I was going to say, you can't walk into a room of at least 15 to 20 dudes in college and say Falcon Punch, and people aren't going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Everyone's going to know what it is.
Very true, man. Yeah, it's weird. Like, I feel like he'd be a good character for like some sort of action-based, like maybe there's a conspiracy within the racing ring, and Captain Falcon has to, take down the corrupt mob that's infiltrated the whole organization. So you get to do some Captain punching or Falcon punching, and you get to do some racing in it as well.
I would love an RPG-based F-Zero game. That would be so fun. I would love that. Oh, God. Shigeru Miyamoto, are you listening? Because...
yeah, big fan of the show.
Yeah, actually, yeah, definitely is.
Definitely watching.
I know he is because he's replied to all of my requests to get, one, a Waluigi solo game, and secondly, to get Waluigi in Smash. And my odds aren't good. But I'm trying.
It's not looking great.
Yeah.
He said if I contacted him again, I'd be hearing from his lawyers. But you know what? I think this one's worth it.
It's Waluigi, man. It's worth it. It's worth it. So Danny, on the topic of comics and storytelling and whatnot, when we first met each other, you were trying to do a lot more screenwriting work. And getting into that. Have you been pursuing that at all lately in terms of not professionally perhaps, but in your free time? Have you been writing stories at all? Have you been crafting anything?
Yeah. So for the last like probably like 2 years now, I'm so upset because it just came out that someone else had already done this. But for the last like 2 years now, I have been trying to craft a stage adaptation of My Chemical Romance's The Black Parade. Like a Broadway version of that.
You're speaking my language, buddy.
And it just came out that someone else just released theirs. And I was like, well, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Man. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably still gonna work on it and finish it and see. Just because someone else did it doesn't mean I can't do it. But yeah, that was like one of my biggest projects for a very long time. Even though I would work on it for like days at a time, and then I wouldn't touch it for like months, and then I would come back and work on it. But yeah, off and on, I've been working on that for probably the last like 2 years or so.
Oh wow.
But other than that, like nothing really. Like I tried to do a few like movie scene scripts, like nothing crazy, nothing like hour and a half, or just like quick like 5 to 7 minute scenes of like different kinds of different genres of movies, like dramas, comedies. I did a few like cop kind of um, dialogues, but yeah. Other than that, I that's one of the things that I've been trying to rekindle my love for, just because like that was such a huge part of, especially when Mike, when you and I met, that was such a huge part of what I was trying to do. I was trying to get into like TV and movies before I just kind of dove headfirst into music. But yeah, that was something that uh, I have recently been like, okay, I should probably try and start to do that again.
Well, I love that My Chemical Romance pitch, even if it's already been done in the sense of somebody else has already produced it, and I don't know how, if it's like an internet thing that's very well known or anything like that. But even still, like I think that's a really great concept because that album is so narrative. Like you can really put a story behind it. Yeah, I would even love to read it if you just want to send it my way if there's anything written for it, just because
Yeah,
it's a
of
great
course.
concept.
I can. Yeah, I can absolutely send you some. Um, let me. I'm just gonna have to proofread it and see if it's any good anymore.
No, I totally relate.
But yeah,
And then the next time you're on the show, perform it for us.
yeah, I'll do a whole one-man show of the Black Parade. I'll
Doesn't
be every character.
Yeah, that sounds
I'll
good.
be-
Hey, we have two other co-hosts who aren't here tonight. I'm sure they'd be down.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah, let's just go ahead and sign them up for it.
Oh, yeah, I'll
Johnny's
send,
perfectly emo for it. You know he is.
I'll send you guys the script, and you can just share it with those guys, and then you guys can each pick your part, and then we'll get cracking on this thing.
Hey, I'm all for it. Stay tuned, listeners, all three of you. We've got a play coming.
Oh man.
No, that's
Oh,
awesome
just
though. I
finding-
love that idea.
Yeah, it was something that kind of struck me as I was driving home um from somewhere. I remember it was a really long drive. That's why I had time to like listen to the entire album. And I was like, "Oh God, this would be such a cool, like Broadway type stage show, like a black box theater type of thing." And I was like looking online to see if anyone had done it, and there were like people that had started but hadn't finished, and like no one had any really great ideas for it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and kind of do this. And I had a big listening party with just me, and I and I just kind of brainstormed how the you know I'm trying to find my words. I kind of was thinking about what the album was trying to say. Like obviously there is um the main character, the patient, obviously in the hospital dying of cancer, but like other than that, like what other characters could live in this world and that kind of stuff. And it became kind of this really big bombastic thing where at first I was like, yeah, maybe like 4 or 5 characters, to the point where I was like, wow, like maybe we could do like 12 characters.
Oh wow.
But like have them all intertwined with kind of an Into the Woods kind of storyline. Um, but yeah, like that was one of the coolest things that I had been working on, and I had actually just forgotten about it until maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. I was driving back from my girlfriend's place in New Jersey, and that album, I listened to that whole album again, and I was like, oh shit, I should finish that. So that's really funny that you had brought that up.
I can't relate more. There was literally a night where Nate and I were hanging out, just working on stuff, and we were spitballing different concepts for things. Nate had some ideas for his book Ray Gun Cowboy that we were spitballing back and forth with.
Which sounds incredible.
You should check it out. The art's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I need to get back to that pretty soon. I'm kind of mad. I put it on hold to do. I don't want to slam anybody I'm working with. Sorry. I put it on hold to work on some pitches and some projects that kind of got presented to me. That then those kind of got put on hold for a couple weeks. We're starting up again, and I was like, oh, I could have done like 3 issues of Ray Gun by now, but it's fine. Anyway,
It's okay.
But we were talking about that, and I totally remembered that there was a pitch I had for a story that I had like completely developed. Like I had the whole through line. I had like each issue planned out, almost page for page, not panel per panel, but I had like a page breakdown of like pages 4 to 5 are this sequence in this scene.
Okay.
And I totally forgot about it until Nate and I were talking about it. And then I like stopped and was like, why didn't I finish that? Well, there's this project I devoted all of this mental time to, this space for, and I just never did anything with it. So that's a project I definitely want to pursue on some level in the future.
Yeah.
It was,
Man.
I'll spoil it right now. I mean, or at least not the spoiler details. I'll tell people what it was about, but it's a Midwestern vampire horror story. It's like a 4 to 5 issue. For Danny, you'll understand the context of this. Like a 4 to 5 issue vampire horror story set in Lancaster.
Oh, dude, that sounds great.
Yeah, so just kind of like that farm, like Amish-esque setting. Very
Kind of desolate.
desolate, rural. That was kind of the backdrop for this whole story, and I developed everything for it, and just never did anything with it because other projects came up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's the best though. Is I feel like a lot of my my best creative thoughts come through when I'm either driving or just walking the dog or something very like trivial, just very mundane. Like that's when I'm like free to like think about whatever, and I really start to formulate cool ideas and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, just be sure you write it down, man. I wrote in my head an entire like Lex Luthor like story arc, graphic novel, whatever you want to call it, that I was like, ooh, this would be, not that it would ever happen, I was like, this would be great for DC Black Label to do this Lex Luthor story that was going to be kind of a commentary on maybe the Trump presidency, maybe not, but it was like this great sort of origin story for like Superman and Lex Luthor's relationship. And I was super proud of it. Didn't write a single thing down. And now I forgot entirely what that story was. So maybe it'll come back to me if I put any brain power into it. But yeah, I don't remember just offhand what it was about. And so I'm like crazy bummed about that.
That's a killer, man. That sucks. I do the same thing.
Like I know like the heart of the story because it's just like basically I just want to explore like my take on Lex Luthor. But the events I had nailed down. I was just like sitting at my day job. Like I was walking around. I work in a freezer like half of the week. And I was just walking around the freezer, freezing my ass off, thinking about Lex Luthor. And I was like, ooh, this is good. And then I went home and forgot it.
If you're not anywhere near like a any sort of recording device, which is funny because we always have one in our pocket now. But any sort of recording device or anywhere to like write it down and you lose that, it's killer. It sucks. I do that all the time with song ideas where I'll be like, oh, that's a really good one. I'm gonna have to remember that, and then by the time I get home, it's gone. So
yeah, I bet. How often does that happen, or how often do you kind of like write songs or
every day.
Come up with ideas for songs? Every day. Okay.
Every day, yeah. I mean, I am constantly, even if they're shitty songs, I'm just constantly writing new songs. because my biggest fears in the world is writer's block. And if I sit down and I
Oh
try
yeah.
and write something every day, then I don't feel like I have it, even if it's just like a chorus or a verse or like a bridge with no words, but there's melody and there's music. It makes me feel like I've written something, and it's like, okay, I'm not blanking. Like, I don't have writer's block. That makes me kind of more of a kind of makes me more um, involved in my own writing. So it's not like I'm like disconnecting, or I'm like, okay, well, I don't really I don't agree with this, so like maybe I should try something else. Um, and it doesn't do that where I'm like, oh, okay, cool, like I already wrote this, and even if it's not good, it's mine. So I can keep writing.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And that's actually, it's funny, I was talking to my dad earlier this week about, I was just doing some figure drawing, just like practice earlier this week, because I found that like drawing sort of dynamic poses or figures in general was getting really hard. And that's something that I've always kind of prided myself on, that I can draw a good figure. And it's been getting harder, and it's just because I haven't sat down and drawn from life enough lately. And so I devoted a day earlier this week. I was like, I'm not gonna do ink necessarily. I'm just gonna break out some pencils and some charcoal, and I'm just gonna draw from photo reference now, because there's no like life drawing classes that I know of happening. Actually, I don't even really know of any life drawing classes in this area to begin with. But I mean, I wouldn't kill someone. I would probably hurt someone pretty bad to have a life drawing class close by that I could go to, because that was always my favorite thing in college, was going and just drawing from like a live model, because it's so invaluable, especially in comics. You're always just drawing people in various poses. It's great for the subject of a panel or a page, and it's great for the background characters, which are deceptively hard to draw.
Right.
And yeah, I need to get back into where like just every day I'm doing that kind of practice, like you were talking about. Just you said you just write things down or explore ideas. I need to get back into that with the drawing. I think I got kind of maybe overconfident. Like, no, I sort of like leveled up. I know how to do this now,
Hmm.
and I don't need to revisit it. And that's just such a trap to fall into.
Yeah.
Nate, I did the same thing. I told myself when I was working on this graphic novel, I was like, I'm going to spend 30 minutes each morning doing figure drawing just to warm up, just to like get loose and whatnot, because that's what they do at Disney and Pixar. I haven't stuck to it, but I really should. Like, it's so difficult because, like you just said, it's invaluable. That is the only word to describe it in this field, is like the repetition, the practice, the refreshing of like, you've drawn a million figures before but at some point it starts to get weird and lumpy and not accurate. And so you have to go back and look at the source and be like, what does it actually look like? What's a human look like? And I totally respect you, Danny, with that mentality of like, I need to produce something every day.
Yeah.
Because like,
It-
if you don't, then that's when you start to get lazy or fall into bad habits, or you find yourself in like an artist block,
yeah.
Yeah, and you can get down on yourself too. I found, at least, like if I'm not doing something that I'm happy with every day at the drawing table, I kind of get down on myself sometimes. I'm like, man, if there is a day that I struggle, I'm like, oh man, this is really hard. I've never thought like, oh, I'm not cut out to do it, or I'm not good at it. But there's, sometimes weeks at a time where I'm like, man, this is harder than it used to be, or harder than I thought it would be at this point, or whatever. And yeah, it really just, to me at least, comes back to practice, like staying, I guess, humble enough to go like, I'm not a master at this. And even the masters would say they're only good because they have good routines.
Hmm.
We're currently zoomed in on
Yeah,
your
this
feet
one,
there. Oh, there we go.
yeah, this one went a little smoother than I was expecting. I've still got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of whiteout I want to get into, and I need to check my book and make sure that I've drawn her outfit here at least somewhat correctly. Because I looked at it before we started filming, and then I just kind of started drawing, and I'm just making up some details. And Sean Murphy's such a great, I think, designer for like the look of a character. I don't want to stray too far from it or betray it to a point where it's not immediately recognizable as something that he did. All of this in here is getting kind of muddy, and I think I can save that hopefully with some whiteout or some white paint. I might have to break out like a big brush and do some big passes with white over it. And water's so hard too. I think like I've got the impression of sort of rippling water down here, but I'm worried that it doesn't look quite right. So I think there's going to be some white involved in the next part, but overall, I'm pretty pleased with how this is going for a sketch that I hadn't fully figured out ahead of time, which is something I don't like to do on the show, since I'm usually at this point, a couple beers in, and I don't want to be figuring things out as we're drawing. But we're gonna roll the dice tonight.
Hey man, this is the most unconventional episode of this show thus far, so you know what, just do whatever you want.
Yeah, I was actually thinking we're gonna get a little wild here with some of the background elements. I think gonna get a little silly.
Cool.
Yeah, Nate, it's funny. Yeah, we were talking before the show started about how I couldn't find my thumbnail for this cover, and now that I'm several drinks in, like I have, I'll call it half my work done. I did a bunch of bugs up here that don't really count, but I only have 2 figures on this cover, and I figured out the one. Totally cool with the pencils on it. But then I totally butchered the lower figure. So at least I have something to work on pencil-wise in part 2 here. But yeah.
I think that's looking really good, man.
Thanks. Here, I'll flip around to it real quick. But absolutely, the point you touched upon of definitely shouldn't be figuring things out when I've had beer in my system. Definitely something. I knew what I was going to do, but like actually figuring out the specifics here. Probably not my crowning moment, but yeah, so we have Bug Eye here. This is the character who I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Is a bit like a Peter Parker / Hank Pym type tech-based bug hero. The top here, I have a bunch of silhouettes of ants and centipedes that are kind of crumbling down from what will be a black silhouette at the top of the page. Some of these will have detail. The ones I have shaped out right now are going to be detailed with a little bit of hatching, but then the rest of the shape that kind of fills this out, this semicircle, this is all going to be silhouettes of bugs. So I'm not figuring that out at the moment because I'm pretty sure I'll leave that to the actual inking. But yeah, so the figure of Holden, I have to figure out how I'm going to illustrate him essentially falling in that space. And I know the pose. This is the pose I want him in, but I just could not illustrate the perspective of the figure in the form accurately. So for this next part, what I'll probably do is trim this top piece of the paper off that's just scrap paper, so I can more easily manage and work on the top part here, so I'm not spaced away by this big white spot.
Right.
Yeah, but at the moment, I'm pretty proud of how this cover is coming out. Like I said, I got the script a while ago for this issue, and so I knew immediately after reading it what the cover was going to be. And so figuring out right now what it's actually going to look like is really fun. And of course, these are characters that I helped develop. So I'm really excited to get into the inking. But that won't happen during this episode because I am so stinking slow. But
yeah, when you mentioned what you were planning on doing for the cover, it reminded me a little bit of that scene from Get Out when he sinks into like the couch or the chair, and he falls into that like black void. And there was a couple posters I think for that movie that was the image for, and that's what it reminded me of, and that's such a cool image.
It is exactly what it made me think of.
Yeah, that's actually, now that you bring it up, like
word.
subconsciously, that's like exactly what I'm going for. Man. And also just to throw in that weird movie flavor. One of the things that I was thinking about with the cover, so if you haven't seen the cover for issue 1, it's got a lot of bright oranges and blues and purples in it.
Right.
With this one, I also wanted to keep pushing the more abstract color, not like one for one, like, oh, he wears a yellow suit, so it's going to be yellow on the cover. The background, I want to be a maroonish color, a maroonish gradient, and I want the figures to be green. And my thought process is Jurassic Park, because I was trying to find the image to send to Doug to like, as proof of concept for like what I was envisioning for this cover. Because like I could vividly see in my head like Jurassic Park toy packaging where there was like green and yellow and maroon mixed together, and it just felt very primal and primitive and very predatory, and that's kind of the vibe I really want to pull out in this cover. So that's kind of like the influence going into this a little bit. But yeah, that Get Out imagery, that's exactly what I'm kind of going for at the moment. Didn't even think about it until we're here on the podcast. Yeah, exactly. And so like with the black up here with the bugs kind of cascading down, it will have that similar effect of like the light that hits the main character in Get Out, how it's like funneling out from the hole that he's falling through. That's pretty much the exact similar iconography I'm going for with the cover here. So yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, man. Great thing. Great image to reference.
Thank you. I didn't even think to reference it until you said it. So I know what I'm going to be looking up in between the parts here. But yeah, guys, to close it out really quick. Of course, thank you so much for tuning in to Ink Drink Think episode 12. This has been a little bit of an unorthodox episode, but hopefully you're enjoying it. This more casual hangout session with our special guest, Danny Walsh. Guys, make sure you go to the comments below. Tell us which of Danny's two bands, Destroy the Moon and Moonroof's songs, are your favorite. Make sure you guys check out the description below where you can find the links to not only the official Ink Drink Think Instagram, where you can find both mine and Nate's finished pieces. You can find the links to mine, Nate's, Johnny, and Todd's personal Instagrams where you can follow all of our artistic endeavors, as well as the link to Danny's band's Instagrams and websites and YouTubes if they have them. I know they have YouTube accounts because I'm subscribed to them. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode 12. Please tune in to part 2 to continue this conversation with Danny Walsh and Nate Wells. Guys, I've been Michael Pickard. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in that part 2.